Joined now by former New Hampshire governor and also former White House chief of staff under George H.W. Bush, John Sununu. Governor Sununu, good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you guys?
We're doing well. We were just talking to Bill Kristol, the Weekly Standard. I know you know.
You'll get over it.
Yeah, he's very happy this morning, but he has accused the Romney campaign of going a little bit too defensive. I don't think anybody could say that about you in your support of Governor Romney. How do you feel about the choice of Paul Ryan as the running mate?
I think it's a great choice. Look, the country deserves to make a decision. The voters of the country deserve to make a decision which way they want to go. And by selecting Ryan, Governor Romney has said to America, okay, it's up to you voters. Do you want to go this way, back towards what Romney and Ryan believe is the right way to go, deregulation, incentives for job creation, solving the problems of entitlement reform, cutting the deficit so that the country doesn't go bankrupt? Or do you want to ride the administration that's currently there, Obama, Biden, and keep going with, frankly, what I personally feel is an administration that has no backbone to make the hard decisions? That's the question that you will hear Governor Romney and Congressman Ryan putting forward.
So how clued in were you to this pick? When did you find out?
I absolutely was clueless.
Really? Had no idea?
I had a sense of by looking at body language, if you will, in the campaign, but I deliberately stayed out of the process, made sure I knew nothing about it so that when I went on radio or TV, I could be sure I wasn't tipping anything off.
And you pleased with the way that whole process played out?
I am. It's probably the best vice presidential rollout I've ever seen in my 107 years involved in politics.
All right. Well, now, the Democrats are lining up to vilify Paul Ryan. I mean, look, when you look at Paul Ryan, most Americans are going, who? I mean, we know him here in Washington, and some people who follow politics pretty closely know him and know of his history. But for the vast majority of Americans who have to make a decision when it comes time in November, he's a blank slate. Both sides are rushing to paint a portrait of Paul Ryan, and the Democrats are painting one in which he rolls Granny off the cliff in a wheelchair.
Yeah, look, I think the Democrats are getting too cute by a half again. And every time they raise this issue, for example, of Medicare, the Republicans are just going to point out that the only president that ever stole money from Medicare to fund one of his programs is President Obama. He took $716 billion out of today's recipients' Medicare to fund Obamacare. And when you talk to seniors in Florida about that, which is what this administration thinks they're going to do, when they get reminded of that, I think it hurts the president more than helps the president.
I don't think there's been anybody out there who's been more passionate about this than you in supporting Mitt Romney. Why do you have the fire in the belly so much in this particular election?
Because I have 15 grandkids, and frankly, it scares me what has happened to America. And I am a great believer that if you run for office, then when you get there, you have a responsibility to do something. And this has been the most spineless, do-nothing president of my lifetime. He heard that Medicare was going to go bankrupt in 2024, and he's done nothing to help the folks that need Medicare. He sits there and pontificates on it, but he hasn't got the courage to do anything. He will be the only president in history, of modern history, to never be able to pass a budget. By law, you're required to get a budget. And if you don't have the courage to stand up and fight for a budget, which is the fundamental definition of what government at the federal level is all about, then you're not doing your job. He likes to go and play free rounds of golf. He likes to go and get the adulating audiences at his fundraisers, but he doesn't like to make decisions. And we shouldn't be surprised. This is the guy that came out of the Illinois State Senate with 150 abstentions. I mean, how can you straddle 150 issues? Why do you run for office if you don't want to fix a problem?
All right.
And this president has done nothing.
You're a pretty smart guy when it comes to adding up electoral math.
Yes.
How does Paul Ryan help electorally? He's blue collar. At least he connects well with blue collar people.
Yeah.
He's Catholic. Does that help you in the Midwest? And how do you solve the problem in Florida?
It helps across the board. Look, very simple question that the American public can ask themselves. If you had a problem, a serious problem, and you needed some brain power and backbone to come in and fix it, are you going to hire Obama Biden, or are you going to hire Romney Ryan? That affects everybody across the entire spectrum. This is the equivalent of a rising tide will lift all boats. This rising tide of support will lift all electoral votes across the board.
All right, but real quick, the numbers have not looked real good. I mean, he hasn't been able to move the needle very much making this argument so far. What changes?
We're in life is like a basketball game, and so is electoral politics. It's all in the last 2 minutes. We are moving into the last 2 minutes with the two conventions and everything coming up. People will now pay attention. They haven't paid attention this summer. Who in their right mind with kids would watch politics on television when you got the Olympics and the kids want to go out and enjoy the sunshine? As soon as you get to these conventions, it's game change.
All right. John Sununu, it was great to have you on. Thanks very much.
Guys.
We appreciate it. Former governor of New Hampshire, former White House chief of staff under George H.W. Bush, and he is fiery.
You can tell. Yeah.
This is fantastic.